What up, y'all? Appreciate you showing up, hanging out, listening to my dumb ass. Like and subscribe. So, I'm doing my thug thizzle. I do the regular thing that I'm doing where, I'm listening to podcasts and stuff. I'm listening, seeing the scuttlebees of the day. And I happen upon two shows, which are pony-centric, pony-leaning, I guess, right? So the first show is the Podcast Beyond show. Brian Altano, Max Scoville, and Hakeem Olajuwon. I forgot his last name, actually. That guy, the black guy with the smooth voice. Anyway, so I'm listening to that, and I'm like, okay, they're going in real good. They're going in on Sony. Like, whoa. Like, why are they going in so hard on Sony? Like, what is this? What's going on here? Right? Whatever. And I mean, it was unprecedented because I'm like, okay, Sony is getting that work. They are freaking, it's like, it's like doom and gloom times 1,000. I never heard them being so doom and gloom because usually they come out and they're like, oh yeah, Sony doing this, and it's like they talk about all third-party games. Oh man, it's so great. The PlayStation is this and that and the blah blah blah. I'm like, but this time it was like, man, this sucks. All these people losing their jobs. It's like they're acting like just because Sony's doing it. Oh my gosh. It's like, it's even mega times worse. It's kind of refreshing to hear them act this way. They didn't say, oh, Sony's evil or Sony's bad or why did they fire 900 people? Why couldn't they do what Microsoft did and not close down the studio? They didn't say none of that. Of course they don't want to say that. They don't want to, poop where they eat. They don't want to bite the hands that feed them. So they didn't say none of that. But what they did do is present a picture of the industry. And without saying any names, of course, but we all know who it was. It was Sony. Sony's kind of complicit in this whole thing because they have been the architects of the sentiment of AAA games for decades. Or at least a decade, let's just say that, ever since the PS4 jumped off, the end of the PS3 era, the beginning of the PS4. Ever since that jumped off, this is what has been happening because AAA games, this is how it's done. Sony, this is how it's done. Sony, right? So I'm like, all right, I guess so. And then I listened to Game Mess Mornings, Jeff Grubb and them. And that's a whole nother thing, right? So Jeff Grubb is a little more extra when it comes to being mad about closures of studios and people getting laid off and stuff. And it's not a nice thing to happen, obviously, but he was really upset. He was like, man, why? This just shows that they don't know what the hell they're doing. And they were slick. They kind of grouped in EA because EA announced it afterwards. So Sony announced the 900 layoffs, and then the next day it was EA with 600 or something like that. And I was like, well, okay, that's all right. I see what they're doing there, trying to soften the blow. And they didn't say, oh, Sony, blah blah blah. They were just generally speaking, right? These people don't know what they're doing, and I'm like, yeah, pretty much. What was the example? They were really pushing on EA more so because of the whole Mandalorian thing, right? So the Mandalorian first-person game is canceled, for a Respawn game, like, and Mike Minotti was like, yo, Respawn hasn't missed. Every game that they make, it's the best game ever. You know what I'm saying? I can't really do his voice, I never tried. But he's kind of right. So EA being scared and canceling the Mandalorian game is an indication to them that they don't know what they're doing, because that game would have sold. I would have bought that. I know it's gonna be multi-platform. I would have definitely bought a Mandalorian game by Respawn. Come on, son, first person, let's go. It's basically Titanfall with a Mandalorian skin. Yeah, please, thank you. That would have been a giant seller. And one of the things that they talked about really was about the licensing, how Disney is just destroying these license deals, and whose fault is that? I'm gonna say, in part, you know what I'm about to say, right? A Sony. Because when that came out, Sony has to pay Marvel for their licensing, for, you know, the points on like the consoles and all that stuff. I was like, yo, Sony is getting done without Vaseline. You know what I'm saying? Disney is like, extra one at the end. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, yo. And so EA is looking at it like, yeah, we don't want that deal. How much money are we gonna make? Like 25 cents after this is all set? Nah, we're not doing that. Nah. So they canceled the game. Okay, sure. I see that thinking. I see where, you know, that comes up. I was like, okay, fine, whatever. Once again, Sony set the precedent for that deal because they had that Spider-Man deal, and I will assume that Disney's like, yeah, that Spider-Man deal, that's how all our deals are. I mean, I would assume Mandalorian might even be higher because I think, Mandalorian I don't think is more on its own. It's not as valuable, but I think Star Wars may be more valuable than Spider-Man itself. And I know I should say Marvel, but really it is Spider-Man. But anyway, so they were talking about that. They were talking about how, you know, the licensing is killing, and that's probably why they killed the deal and stuff. And they kept going on how these companies, they don't know what they're doing. They think that firing all these people and closing these studios are going to make everything okay. When in reality, all they're doing is making their books look good. We made profits because you fired a whole bunch of people so you don't have to pay them. So yeah, your profits are higher because you're not paying 900 people for a year. You know, what is that? 50 grand times 900? That's a lot of money. So it's crazy. And so, like I said, they were saying about that. They were, you know, kind of lamenting about how the industry's changing, blah blah blah, right? And the main thing really was they don't know what they're doing, and this is not going to fix anything. This is they were saying that it's just a quarter by quarter mentality. And I'm listening to this and I'm like, okay, but you know who's not doing that? Microsoft, Xbox, because they have they canceled any games recently? I'm trying to think. I mean, they let Toys for Bob go independent, and they're still dealing with them. They're still going to do game deals, publishing deals, I will assume, which is good. It's better for Bob. And they then I think it was, I forget which podcast it was, but they questioned why would you? Oh, it was Game S Mornings. Why would you let Toys for Bob go? Why can't you keep them? And like I said in the last video, if they are unhappy, then why would you keep an unhappy studio? Like, if they want to be free, if they want to be independent, they have the means, like they saved up their quarters and their pennies and such, and they're like, yo, we could buy our independence, then do it. They have investors, then do it. Let them do what they want to do. Meanwhile, still making these good games, do a publishing deal. What's the difference? There is no difference. They can even make it exclusive. It's the same thing, except Beanox. Toys for Bob, you know, takes a little bit more responsibility when it comes to, you know, the fiduciaries, the monies, and they make essentially they make more money, obviously, because they own themselves. So yeah, and so if that's what Toys for Bob wanted, then why is Microsoft being ridiculed or, you know, raked over the coals because they're kind of doing the right thing by the studios. Like they're saying, yo, studio, yo, you want to do this? You want to be free? We're gonna let you be free. There you go, you're free. We still gonna do it. Yeah. You want money? Okay, yeah. So that's not even a non-issue. They shouldn't even have to like get up in arms about that. That's like a good. They're like, oh, either it's to close the studio down or to make them go independent. Well, Microsoft wants all this money. Why can't they work something out? I was like, that's not how it works. If the studio wants to be independent, let them be independent. And then Microsoft did the smartest thing and said, yo, we gonna still make games though, right? I'm like, yeah, we independent. I mean, we get the contracts, we hook up the points, it's all good, baby. And I'm like, that's what's up. That's the best case scenario. In my mind, I'm like, that's what's up. And so, the people are crying about the industry. I guess it took Sony to fire 900 people for them to really get up in arms, right? Doom and gloom. Uh-oh, Sony did it. Now it's really actually serious? No, it's been serious for like 2 years. And we all know why. So let's not pretend that we don't know why. Overhiring, COVID and all that stuff. But I'm a little glad to see that the gaming media is not sugarcoating it or not reporting it. You know what I mean? They are actually talking about it. Not as strongly as I would hope, because, I think that they don't know what they're doing. Should have been targeted a little more towards Sony, because they literally closed down I would assume the only VR studio that they had making VR games. And they make a VR hardware, and they close down the people who would potentially make the software for the hardware, in essence putting the final nail in the coffin for PSVR 2. I mean, I already know that was a hot piece of pile of dog feces, canine fecal matter to begin with. Had corn and everything. Like, why are dogs eating corn? Who knows? It still shows up. Dogs don't eat, it's in there. And yeah, it's like, why would you close down your VR studio if you cared about VR, if you cared about your hardware? You don't care about your hardware. You sent it to die. It's dead. You can't do another VR headset now. Sony literally killed their chances of, if VR actually jumps off in the future, Sony's done. Nobody's gonna buy it. They're like, yo, we remember what you did last time. And then their fix is to make it compatible with PC. I'm like, okay, but there's better headsets on the PC. I mean, the what is it? The MetaQuest 3? Is that what it is? Is, as I understand it, way better than the PSVR 2, because first of all, standalone, hello. Second of all, wireless, hello. Come on, son. I mean, that alone is better. I don't care if the resolution is not as good or refresh rate is not as good. I think it is, actually, but I'm not too sure. I think the resolution isn't as good. But anyway, point is, they have the software, and they have wireless solution, and they have all these things that are better than the PSVR 2. And it's comparable in price, I believe, if not cheaper. So I think it's like $499. Yeah, I think that's what it is. And the PSVR 2 is $549, cheapest $599 for the bundle with the game, the Horizon Dum Climb the Mountain and Be Stupid game. Anyway, falling off track a little bit, but the state of gaming, media, how they're reacting, all these things. Like I always say, pay attention to what they're saying. Pay attention to the biases. Pay attention to all these things. I'm biased, yes, but I'm also not a bot or a fanboy in that respect. I mean, Sony, a Sega fanboy, yes, but that's because long story. But I'm not gonna blindly follow Xbox and Microsoft, regardless of what they do. Once again, it's about the industry as a whole, the health of the industry. That's why I've been so hard on PlayStation, because they have been detrimental to the industry as a whole. I'm not saying like, oh, I don't like their games. It's a they have literally created a scenario where everyone expects AAA games to be a certain thing. An unsustainable certain thing. Sony created that. Everyone believes that, oh, if it's less than that, or if it's not behind third person, behind the back cinematic, it's not AAA, whatever. Sony created that. They've done that, and they knew that that was unsustainable for at least 10 years. They've known that. Sean Layden said it. And it wasn't even that bad when he said it. And now, it's literally unsustainable. They're canceling games. They're closing studios. They canceled the Twisted Metal game. Like, why would you cancel Twisted Metal? You literally, I think it was, the show was greenlit for a second season. Why would you cancel Twisted Metal? What happened to the synergy between the Sony Pictures and television and the gaming division? You're blowing it. And then Factions was canceled. Another synergistic opportunity wasted because y'all don't know what y'all doing. And they said that. And they didn't want to say, Sony, you don't know what you're doing. EA, you don't know what you're doing. They just said it generally speaking, when it's not a general statement. Every company is not going through the same thing. And layoffs, like in Microsoft versus Sony, are different because they literally bought a 69.78 whatever billion dollar company. They had a huge acquisition. Yes, of course there are going to be layoffs. Plus the whole COVID overhiring thing. So it's a combination of that. But they didn't close any studios. And so that's where I'm looking at it. I'm like, okay, well, you got the redundancy layoffs, yes. And then probably some other ones, yes. 8-9%, that's everybody's doing that. I think EA did 5. But they didn't close the studio. And that's where the difference lies. Meanwhile, Sony, they fired 900, closed the studio, right? Why? They didn't acquire, when did they acquire Bungie? The fact that Bungie lost, or they were $45 million short or whatever it was, I'm like, and plus the $10 billion that Sony lost in I was gonna say equity, but in worth, plus the $10 billion lawsuit in the UK, I'm like, where's all this money coming from? Minus 900 people. That's where some of it is coming from. That's not even like a fraction. That's not even close to covering that 20 billion that they're might be in deficit of. And so you have to look at both. You can't just say, oh, they fired them and they fired them. Oh, Microsoft was worse because they fired more. No, Microsoft is it's a bigger corporation. They have more workers. And a lot of that stuff is like contract work and stuff. So a lot of it is just, it's like, I was gonna say mandatory firing, but I mean, it's built into the cyclical nature of how they make games. Like if you are a contract worker, you're not gonna work there after your contract is done. Do they count that? I believe so. You could, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. But I would think that they would count that because it's still employment and it's still, you can either renew it or let go. I was a contract worker, in essence. It was a 6-month stint, and they did not rehire me. They had the option to rehire me, but I was not rehired. So in essence, I was terminated. I was fired. So that could be why that number is as such. But who knows? I mean, I don't know. But the like I always say, the bottom line really is the health of the industry, and let's not get it twisted. And the one thing I will take away that I think I want everyone to think about is why. Why are certain studios laying off, and why are certain studios canceling games, and why are certain studios closing studios, right? Certain companies closing studios. Because they're not all equal, and when they say they don't know what they're doing, I was looking at EA and I was like, well, I think they do know what they're doing. There is a for EA, I don't think they want to pay that royalty. So I was like, I understand that. For Sony, they don't know what they're doing because they literally wasted millions. I'm gonna say close to $100 million, if not $100 million on fractions. I keep saying fractions, factions, and it's canceled. They could have at least made it a playable thing, right? And just put it out and just say, yo, this is what factions is. It ain't that good. It's free. Just have fun. Instead, I don't know, whatever they're doing, they're gonna try to salvage and make a game out of what the assets are. It's just, it doesn't. That's when I say they don't know what they're doing. When Bungie came up and said, yo, this is whack. This ain't gonna work. This monetization ain't gonna work. They don't know what they're doing. And then Bungie's like, oh yeah, we kind of short on our monies. We like $45 million short, or it was $45 billion. No, it wasn't $45 billion. $45 million short. They don't know what they're doing. So Sony is like double. PlayStation's like double. They don't know what they're doing because they don't know what they're doing, and they took advice from a company that doesn't know what they're doing. Come on, son. I mean, I'm not even exaggerating or making this up. This is what happened. So look, Sony will be fine. They're just gonna fire more people, and that's another thing. That last thing about the podcast, the Jeff Grubb podcast. They said they have no faith in Sony or the industry as a whole that this will not continue to happen. And I'm like, you know what? They're right in some respects, but like I said, all these companies are not created equal, and they're not operating on equal schedules or equal kind of mindsets. Microsoft has a plan, and they have the money to execute. Sony does not have the money, and they're losing money. They're bleeding on the floor. Nobody got a Band-Aid. Nobody got the crazy glue to close it up. They just look. It's getting more and more red stuff's coming out because they don't know what they're doing. And so what's going to happen? Smaller games, worse games, less quality, cheaper games for them to make. That's why all those things. And the games will suffer. They will come out less frequently. It's a bad look. When you think about PlayStation, it's like, this ain't the PlayStation that y'all remember. I said that from the beginning. I was like, this ain't the same PlayStation. Jim Ryan ain't it. And he was holding it together as best as he could. He was looking at this. He was like, yeah, we can't keep doing that. This ain't working. And so y'all gonna get a bunch of Miles Moraleses. That's what y'all are gonna get. A bunch of Miles Moraleses, which is basically half a game for $50. That's what y'all are gonna get. I hope you ponies are ready, because that's what y'all are gonna get. I hope you're ready to drink that up, because that's what y'all are gonna get. Not a full-fledged game, not a Starfield epic scoped game like that. You get an 8-hour, $50 game, and then they'll say part 2 coming soon, another $50, and they got you. They got you, and you'll buy it because you're idiots. Everybody says vote with your wallet, but they got y'all by the balls. Y'all don't care. Y'all like it. Y'all like to get tugged around by the balls, I guess. Because look, I've been watching their behavior this generation, last generation, and they're not a good company. Now, all these corporations have the mindset of making money. And I was listening to Reforged Gaming, whatever the hell is Lotto, whatever his name is, Mono, Lano. And he was like, oh, corporations don't care about you. There is no, look, Ono's Alex went in on him, and he was like, yo, this dude is hypocrisizing left and right, saying one thing and being opposite the next sentence. And I was like, okay, I can't watch this anymore. Plus, Jimmy Neutron is always in my brain, so I'm like, why did Jimmy Neutron grow a beard? Anyway, I think the only thing that Reforged Gaming has, or why people listen to him, because he sounds intelligent, uses big words and stuff. He knows how to put a couple sentences together. But his arguments are so dumb that, his fanboyism shows through. It does. It really does. And like I said, I'm a fanboy of Sega, but like I said, I'm not dying on Xbox Hill. If Xbox is acting foolish, I'm not doing that. And I'm not doing the Peter Ovo or the Tim Dog. I'm gonna keep bringing them up because, you know, I mean, they've been tweeting, and I'm looking at these, and I think I did a comment on, I think Peter Ovo's, or I think it was Tim Dog's actually, one of his tweets. I forget what the context was, but I'm like, he's not serious. He bumped his head, or I forgot what it was. But I was like, yo, Tim Dog. Oh, he was talking about the rights to Crash Bandicoot and Spyro and stuff. And he was like, and it was, you know, pertaining to Toys for Bob. And he was like, Microsoft buys Toys for Bob, and then now they go independent. And he was like saying like how like the IPs now, what's gonna happen to these games or whatever. And everybody's like, you know, they still own the IPs, right? Just because the studio worked for Activision. Activision owned the IPs. They were making Activision games. Activision still owns IPs. Microsoft owned Activision. That's how that works. And I'm like, he can't be serious. He knows that they still, nah, he ain't that stupid. Tim Dog not that dumb. And everybody said the same thing. And I'm like, well, I'm gonna just put a little bit of something in there. I don't want to be part of the zeitgeist or anything. I'm not like a clout chaser or anything, but I'm just like, I can't just sit by, and especially when I feel like strongly about something. Like, look, he's taking his feelings, his I don't know, his sense of betrayal or whatever it is. I don't know how to categorize it, but he's taking what Microsoft did to him way too seriously. I always say, yo, this is just games, this is video games, this is fun time, let's have fun. But he's like, man, Peter Ovo is not as bad as Tim Dog, but they're twins. They're Humpty and Dumpty or something, I don't know. And I guess Phil Spencer kicked the wall out from under them because Tweedledee and Tweedledum, they just acting dumb. Maybe they're doing it to gain more followers, like I said before, but this ain't a good look. And there ain't no coming back from this. They're whatever. Like, I'm pretty sure they lost followers. And I would unfollow them, but I want to see the ridiculousness. I want to see what they say. So it's not about respect. Like I said, they don't know who I am. I only know them because they would tweet a lot about Xbox and stuff. And generally it was all right. It wasn't too like kind of inflammatory or fanboyish or anything. But now, like since they've like flipped or whatever they've done, it seems like their bitterness is shining through and distorting the reality. And so like that whole the whole Toys for Bob misunderstanding by Tim Dog is an example. Like, you're a grown-ass man, you know how these things work. Why are you so dumb right now? You know? And he's trying to defend, like somebody put a meme up there with like a funny face, like the meme face. And he's looking at it, he's like, you so stupid right now. It says something like that. And then Tim Dog underneath it said, that's me looking mad at you. So he's trying to flip it. I'm like, nah, that didn't work. Nah, sorry, you looking dumb and petty right now. So, I mean, you can continue this path that you're going down, Tim Dog, but I don't see any benefit to anyone. I mean, mostly you. There's no benefit for you to keep acting this way. Like somebody that done stole your toys or something, or hurt you real bad, or stole your girlfriend, or had sex with your girlfriend and filmed it and then sent it to you and said, look, I'm putting my penis in your girlfriend. How's that feel? How you like them apples? I don't know. Look, or boyfriend. I don't know where Tim lies, if you know what I mean. So look, hey, if he wants to do that, that's fine. I'm looking like further down the line. Like, how can he possibly have a redemption arc after what he's doing right now and continues to do? Like Peter Ovo, I could see like, or maybe they'll just stop Twitterizing, right? And be PC, just turn into a PC gamer and just totally ignore consoles and just be PC Master Race and just make fun of all consoles or something. Maybe that's the transition that they're looking at, right? But what I'm thinking is that I don't know if they're capable of that. Like I said, Peter Ovo may have a better chance, but I'm not too sure Tim Dog can do it because he just seems I don't know, whatever. But anyway, let me know in the comments. I'm sorry, this is a long one. Let me know in the comments below what you think about the Flippy Floppers and also these two podcasts. Listen to them if you want to. I'm not like forcing you, obviously, but you know, I think the Game Master Morning, you can get a lot of it just in the beginning. They started right in the beginning talking about this, so you know, you don't have to listen to the whole whatever 2 hours or hour and a half. It's just right in the beginning they start talking about it, so you can get the gist in the first, I guess, 30 minutes or so. And podcast, be honest, isn't that long either, so you know, you can get. And they basically, the whole show is basically doom and gloom. So listen at your own leisure, if you will. But you know, just to get the context and understand what I'm talking about regarding what they were saying. But let me know. Do you think the media will eventually turn on Sony? I don't think they will, because last thing, they had an ad for The Last of Us vinyl album in the IGN store. That's what Max Scoville, Max did an ad for it. I was like, what? And that's not, now I know that they're in Sony's pocket. I mean, like before it was like scuttlebutt speculation. People kept saying it. I'm like, oh, okay, well, like, oh, they do 70% or 80% of the ad revenue in IGN is paid by Sony. I was like, I guess somebody said it, so whatever. But what he said when he pimped out the vinyl, it's a two disc vinyl for the Last of Us 2 soundtrack. It's at the IGN store right now. I was like, y'all suck. Y'all suck. And that's why the Xbox IGN podcast sucks too, because they are not allowed to be proud of Xbox. And Ryan McCaffrey is such a, I don't know what to call him. He kind of sucks a little bit, because, you know, I don't know him personally, obviously, but he doesn't seem like he is an Xbox fan per se. It seems like he's playing a guy who is getting paid to talk about Xbox. I mean, I know he is an Xbox guy because he played Halo and it helped him out during a rough time, blah, blah, blah. And he did the OXM magazine back in the day. But still, I listen to Xbox podcasts. I listen to PlayStation podcasts. When I listen to the PlayStation podcast, they never speak about Xbox. I mean, I think they did once. And that was either Max or Brian, because they don't care. They're comedians at heart. They're funny dudes at heart. They're artists. They both draw. And so they don't care. They're like, look, I'm going to say what I want to say, because that's just how my mind works. Boom, 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 right? And so I give them props for still doing that. But you know, Ryan McCaffrey is just like, he's a mouthpiece for IGN, which is bought and paid for by Sony, and you know, he knows where his bread is buttered, so he's not gonna, you know, like I said, he's not gonna bite the hand that feeds him. So it's a conflict of interest in a way. Well, it would be more of a conflict of interest if he said bad things about Sony, but that doesn't preclude you from saying good things about Xbox and not always being negative, always pointing out the negative. Yes, it needs to be pointed out, but on the flip side, on the PlayStation side, except for like today and a couple of other shows, on always going to be doing it. So that's what's up, and I appreciate y'all, and that's about it. And yeah, I'll catch y'all on the next one. Tilt the way down.